Let me give you two more quotes by you. Hopefully you don't mind me telling you about you. But in Language of Learning, the Classical Method, which was published on creation.com, you said classical education differs from both progressivism and pragmatism in that it sees as its purpose the passing on of a particular culture, namely the Western culture. Mm-hmm. And then in the classical education is more than a method from Memoria Press, you write, if we articulate classical education as merely a method and fail to cast the vision of the Christian West as it manifests itself in our literature, our science, and our history, and we will have to replace one modern mistake with a similar one, no less modern. So then we brushed up a little bit about it, but what specific elements of Western culture, we become almost culture warriors to just go down rabbit holes of this, that, and the other thing, and we're all just supposed to be super in multiculturalism, so we're only thinking of ourselves as the world. But it does seem like there's something special about the West in the fact that if you look at throughout the past 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, the Western culture developed and it became a thing. So what's there that's critical to preserve? And I guess as from like a Christian perspective, how do I marry that with the universality of God calling all people the church, but also then kind of not pledging allegiance to the Western culture, but to hold it in the respect that it deserves and is helpful.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, multiculturalism is a Western idea. Right. Yeah, these people who attack the West on the basis of multicultural, that developed in the West.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Western civilization has these particular traits. Okay. One is a kind of universality. The whole idea of universal truth, a truth that is true for everybody, everywhere. That is a uniquely Western idea, right? And also this idea of self-criticism, that we are our own worst critics. It's not people outside Western civilization who can critique us. They don't know how to critique. It's not a part of their culture. If they have it and they do criticize us, they got it from the West, right? In fact, the world is almost completely Westernized now. I mean, you have to go to really remote places. In tribal situations where it's so all these pretensions about native practices and all this stuff. Well, excuse me. I mean, you people who say that, you go around and you're trying to stamp out female circumcision and you're trying to stamp out racism, and those are indigenous practices. I thought we liked indigenous practices. Actually, it's Westerners who really respect indigenous practices in a proper way, right? Because one of the things that has happened as the West has kind of gone out and conquered the world militarily and culturally, there's been bad things that have happened, obviously. But one of the good things that has happened is the third thing, after being universal, self-critical, is that we're the great appreciators. We sent out anthropologists and linguists all over the world because we were curious about other cultures. We appreciate other cultures in a way that other cultures were never able to appreciate other cultures themselves, right? And I mean, even when we sent out military expeditions, Napoleon goes and he conquers Egypt, bad thing. But the good thing about it was that he sent archaeologists there. Yeah. We are the ones who figured out how to read the hieroglyphs, right? Champollion, the Frenchman, figured out how to do that because he was interested in it, right? We went to countries, and yes, there were bad things about colonialism, but even many Indian intellectuals today say, look, we need to thank the British for the rail system. They developed our infrastructure and taught us how to govern ourselves in a stable way, So the West is you can talk about these other cultures and all this sort of thing, but that's Western talk. That itself, even the criticism of us is conducted in a Western way because we're the ones who are our own worst critics. And we're the great appreciators. I mean, the only reason we know Sanskrit today is because of several British anthropologists who went over there and saved it. We saved it for the Indians, right? So, there's a lot of angles on that, but I just think that all this anti-Western talk is very ignorant.
Yeah.
And it's even their own ability to criticize ourselves comes from ourselves ultimately.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary on Machu Picchu and just how long it took to rediscover it. There were natives who knew kind of where it was at, but then it was, Anglo explorers that found it and cleaned it up and started giving tours, and only until after it's cleaned up, well, then it's been an issue.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
right.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. All the good pieces of Egypt of Egyptian lore are in British museums, and where I'm from, we actually have our own mummy that we go and appreciate, and it has its own Twitter account. So we fully westernized.
Yes.
We fully westernized it. So
yeah. No, that's really true. Now the Egyptians museums want them back, and I think they're trying to get those back, but that's because the Egyptians are now westernized.
Right. Right.